If you've had projects that you feel you need to bring in this kind of equipment to square your cardstock walls, then this video is for you. Hi, welcome to CardStock Modeling. I'm your host, Sam Miller. And in this episode, we're going to continue our assembly of Clever Models O-Scale Ice House. First, let's take a look at the isometric to reacquaint ourselves with the design of the house. Here you can see the layout of the O-Scale small wooden ice house. Now let's take a look at what we've assembled so far. As you can see, we've completely built up all the walls, where we've done both ends, the sides of the lean-to, and the end. And we put all the details and features in, such as windows, trim. We've done lap siding, as well as hinges on all the doors. In this episode, we'll assemble the main walls and the lean-to walls. Next, we'll assemble the foundation walls and glue those to both buildings. After that, we'll glue both buildings together. Now let's take a look at those pages in the kit. On page 5 of the interior supports, we'll be using these at both the top and bottom of the walls to provide structure. On page 6 are the foundation walls. We'll be detailing the stone as well as gluing these square pieces to reinforce the large tabs at the corners. On page 10 are the lean-to foundation and interior supports. We'll be detailing the foundation walls and installing the top and bottom supports as well as the corner tabs for bracing. So that I can add details to the foundation walls, I've gone ahead and made 2 copies. One will be the structure itself, and the other copy will be cutting out stones which will add relief to the foundation walls. Likewise, I've made 2 copies of the foundation walls for the lean-to so that I can add details to that foundation's walls. The first page we're going to deal with is page 6, which is the foundation walls. Before cutting anything out, the first thing we'll do is pay attention to these lines, and we'll be marking those with an awl and then scoring them on the back side, because this is where the critical folds are to maintain the dimensions. So I'm going to use the point of the awl to indicate where we will score the back side for the fold lines. I'm just going to be working my way around the page. Okay, now let's turn her over, and you should be able to see pinpoints here, and I'm going to be working my way. I found that when using an awl to score the paper, only one pass is needed. Next step will be to cut out each of the foundation walls. And the next thing I'm going to do, because there's only 2 exposed edges, I'm going to darken those edges with a marker. Also, I cut out the 4 squares that will reinforce this top side of the foundation walls once they're assembled. And I just save the graphics and the directions as a reminder when I get to that stage. Next step is to fold the tabs on the foundation wall. What I use is a utility knife, which you can see here, and it helps me lift the tabs up. So take a look. And turn them over and find your score line like this. So you can get an even fold. And then as you'll see, this helps me lift these edges up. And then what I do is to take another ruler, and I'm going to make that like probably bend it a 60 degree. And to make sure I got a good crease is to take my hand and smooth it out like that. Okay, now we're going to try the other side and just lay it flat down. And the reason I'm doing this now is it's more difficult and to have an even bend once you've got something glued on the surface. Found that out from experience. Okay. Now, yeah, that's going to even out on there pretty well. Bend it over about a 60. And here and here. Very good. So as you can see, not too bad. Reset. 110-pound paper is pretty resilient. That's another reason I like to use it. And we'll get this small thing here. I really like the tip of that blade to help lift that tab. Okay, so now we're all set. We got one folded, but then I'm going to go ahead and just lay it out flat for use. And we'll do the second one. In a separate episode, I've explained the process that I use for detailing stone walls and foundations. You can find the link to that in the pages below this video. Next, we're going to take a look at page 5. And page 5 is the supports for the foundation walls. So what we're going to do is cut out the supports on page 5. Once that's done, we'll get back to you and start the assembly process. Something I just learned. We're going to need to print 2 pages of page 5. And the reason for that is I'm going to use these supports not only in the foundation walls, but in the main house for extra measure. That's your choice, but I felt it would give it some additional structure. So now we have more homework. So now that we've got everything cut out and folded, the next step will be to take the 2 sections of the 4 walls for the foundation, glue those together to make a rectangle, and then once that's done, we'll glue one of the bottom supports to the bottom of that. What I'm going to do is use these squares to get a good perpendicularity and squareness to the foundation walls. First, I'm going to take what I call the back wall and glue the tab, as you can see here. And then the next step will be to put these supports in here, and the squares. Make sure these tabs are lined up properly. And just using my hands and following the square on my cutting mat, that should give us a very good chance of getting it right. The next step was to glue the interior supports, both a bottom support and top support, to the foundation walls of the main building. I did this to provide rigidity to the foundation walls. Let's see. Next, we'll glue the supporting squares to the top tabs of the foundation walls. Now that we've assembled the foundation walls to the support structure, let's take a look. As you can see, everything's intact. We got our support squares here, and it doesn't want to flex. I'm trying to flex it. I'd say that's pretty decent. See the relief? It's marked front and back. That's all taken care of. Okay, the next steps are we're going to put the front and back there. You see the front and back and the side walls together, and then that will be mounted to this base plate, this foundation plate. And then once we get that all together, we will put that on top of here. First, I'll glue the front wall to both side walls of the main building. I found it's helpful to use the grid on a cutting mat to make sure the walls are aligned properly. Also, I use a ruler as a straight edge to make sure the walls maintain alignment while the glue's tacking. Glue the three-wall section to the interior support at the bottom of the walls. Make sure the tabs on the interior support are in the up position. I glue the support to the three walls at this stage to make sure everything is square and aligned. That's going to make it. Yeah, look at that. Now I'm encouraged. Okay. Let's take an inventory of where we are right now. We completed the detailing of the main building's foundation walls. Okay. And construction's complete with our supports, both the bottom support and the corner support. Okay. Then completed putting on the bottom support for the main structure, and all the walls are glued together, and it's square. I'm really pleased how true it is. No issues there. The next step is to decide whether I install, how to install this interior wall support. And as you can see, the challenge is how do I get it in there evenly? And from that standpoint, and still give myself a little wiggle room once it's assembled inside. So what I've decided to do, and I've showed you this before, and I call these, they're corner braces or gussets, and I found the design on Clever Models. It's very easy to make. It's a 90-degree angle for the corners, and then I've got this in, I think, 1 inch and 1.5 inch size. So I went ahead and these are the 1.5 inch sizes. And what I've decided to do is to use a corner brace at each corner, okay? And maybe this is a little overkill, but this is like spaghetti sauce. I always say it's your choice for the ingredients. And to do these and to put these in properly, I just went in and, as you can see, measured at whatever height I wanted to put. Let's do this. Put lines in here on each corner, both sides of each corner, at the same height. And that way, I will have a foundation to lay this upper wall support for the main structure. So that's my plans. So let's go ahead. I'll show you the process of these. And these corners are bent at a right angle. They're very easy to do. You score the back sides and cutting them out like we've done with other things. And now it's a process of just putting some glue in on it and gluing those in. That'll give us a nice foundation. Okay, next step is, now that we've got the corner supports or gussets and all the 4 corners, believe it or not, I'm going to hold off putting this in, the upper support for the interior, because I want to make sure I get good adhesion to the base, and lining our fronts up with the front. What we're going to do is we're going to glue that, and it's got a nice fit to it, and then I'll put a weight on top of that to enhance the glue. So let's get to it. Now, while we're waiting for the glue to dry between the foundation walls and the main building, we'll set that aside. As you can see, we got it weighted. I printed 2 copies of page 10, and the reason for that is so we would have additional interior supports for the foundation walls, as well as for detailing the foundation wall of the lean-to. After assembling the walls in the lean-to, I attached the interior wall supports. The upper support was modified to accommodate the windows on the side wall. I did this by putting notches in the tab. The next step is where I glued the tabs together that are at the open side of the wall. I made a rectangle of cardstock to fit the open end of the lean-to, and then glued it onto the tabs at the end of the lean-to. I did this to have more surface area when gluing the lean-to to the main structure. To assemble the lean-to foundation walls, I made 2 cardstock rectangles for the top and bottom, and also used cardstock to close the open end. Lastly, using a glue stick, I glued the foundation to the lean-to. The next step is gluing both sections of the building together, and I have a plan. So taking a look at the top-down effect, I'm going to use the grids on my cutting mat as a guide of where I want to glue. And as you can see, this is 2 inches wide, the building. I'm just going to line it up and then put the glue on and apply the pressure. So let's get started. First, I'll put ample glue on the lean-to wall. So now that I've applied the glue, I'm going to position the main building so it's centered. And then in the centering process, mark my squares. And that also gives me alignment and perpendicularity. Next, I'll clamp the top of the walls. And the next thing is I brought in a pretty hefty clamp. Put that in position. Apply some light pressure. And still check my perpendicularity with everything. And I'm good. So now I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and we'll be back to you how it goes. The main thing is to make sure that it's flat and that it's square with the sides. We got squareness, good alignment, we have perpendicularity. So what more could we ask for? I'll be right back. Okay, now we're ready for the big reveal. Well, let's take a look at what we got. First, I'll release these clamps and pull this away. And it's only been maybe 3 or 4 minutes, not long, because it's Elmer's. I'll take these clamps off. Now, let's see. Not bad, not bad. I'm seeing there's a little bit of a gap here, and I've got to I can put some glue in here, and that got a really good seam right there. That's nice and tight. I'm very pleased with this right here. So let's put a little bit more glue there and pressure. Now we'll apply some glue into this crevice. Apply a little finger pressure, and we'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at what we've accomplished in this segment. One of the primary things we've done is we've squared the walls. Perpendicularity to the ground, in all facets of the building. I think that's a major accomplishment, because in the past I've had buildings that, they were definitely leaning towards fissures, and that's not a good thing. We detailed the foundation walls, and you can spend about 8 minutes in a separate segment showing how that was specifically done. So thanks for watching. I hope these tips have been helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. Thanks so much.